Okay, cool. So I'm Nick Tim. I am the co-founder of Tart Hard Cider out of Olympia, Washington. We received the Vibe Small Business Grant, winner of the business plan competition last year. Really met some amazing people in the process, made some great friends, won some money. It was a good time. Here to talk today a little bit about how being a veteran helps you become a better business person, or just how to become a business person in general. I will tell you right now that this time yesterday I was sweating my butt off working over in Eastern Washington, and I was working till 8 or 9 at night, and I got a call from our new distributor who we just signed with about a week ago that they wanted about 100 kegs and about 500 cases of cider today delivered in the morning. Now, my response was, of course, I'll totally handle that, full well knowing that I had to make up the kegs, had to do 100 kegs and get all the cider packaged and put together last night. So worked a 12-hour day yesterday, drove over the mountains last night, started working at about 1 this morning, put everything together, got it all done, sent it off this morning, dealing with stuff in the business, just kind of keeping the wheels rolling and all that. And I just was thinking to myself, honest to God, I was like, thank God I was in the military, and thank God I had a really hard job, because this would have sucked otherwise. I was a loadmaster, good time, flew on C-17s, a lot of fun, but they were really long days, really awkward days, just kind of like, hey, you work 36 hours one day, hey, you work 2 hours the next day, and you're all different time zones, you're all over the world, and it ends up really screwing with your body and your system, and you just kind of end up being, you either kind of go a little crazy, or you just kind of quit feeling tired all the time, or a mix of both. And it's helpful to have a little bit of both, I think. But that first point I wanted to launch into with that little story was resiliency is really key. I know they've been stressing it recently in the military that resiliency is a way to avoid, depression, help combat PTSD, deal with a lot of the harsher aspects of service. And I fully agree with that, because if you're mentally strong and physically strong as well, you're going to be completely, and you teach that, don't you? Yeah. So yeah, there you go. I'm talk to you. There you go. It's good stuff, and it'll keep you going. Like, I'm running on maybe a half hour sleep, feeling great. Feeling great, feeling really great. A lot of coffee. It's good though. You get things done. You don't let things get in your way, and I think that's what a military veteran brings to the table, is the fact that they don't let things stop them. They push through, they get things done, they accomplish the mission, even if it means, hey, I don't get to eat today, hey, I don't get to sleep today, hey, this really sucks, I tore up my hands, they're bleeding right now, hey, I just got showered with cider, which happened this morning. I had a small explosion, just covered in passion fruit cider, and I smell like,
smell good,
I smell very nice, thank you. Appreciate that. You just want to make sure that whenever you go into something, just like in any kind of mission you had in the military, any kind of job, you want to make sure that you are fully prepared to do it, and to do it to the best of your capability. And I think military veterans are more prepared to do that than any other group of people in the entire world. I would say that hands down very easily. It's been good to have that background, to have the experience of the Air Force, working with so many different people in so many different areas, so many different backgrounds, different languages, learning new things, picking up different tricks of the trade, as it were, quickly. As a loadmaster, I hate tooting my own horn as a loadmaster, because we always toot our own horn in the military anyway, because the worst joke that we have is that we're on one of the newer jets, and we always talk to the guys that are on the older jets, and man, they are complaining, oh, my rollers on the floor don't work, the door didn't open, one of the engines fell off, the wing is cracked. And my response was always, oh man, my microwave was broken today. Or, oh, my bed was a little hard up in my loft, it was tough. So I always hate tooting my horn like I was a loadmaster. But it's the best experience I've had in my life. And I draw on that quite a bit. I know that I was all over the world. I visited every continent by the time I was 22. I speak a smattering of I speak a smattering of a dozen languages, mainly where's the beer, and a couple other choice questions I won't put on camera, and then where's the bathroom? and it really primes you to work with a lot of different people in any kind of arena you might find yourself in. Last point I had planned to talk about, and then I was going to go into Q&A. I didn't know how many people were going to have today, so I slotted in a lot of time for Q&A. Last really big point I had in coming from being a military veteran to being a business person is that I want to tell everybody that's coming out of the military, you can do it. It's the biggest and scariest thing in the world to try and take an idea that you have a lot of passion for, put a lot of energy into, and put a lot of time into, and try and put it out there in the world and see what people think of it. Sometimes that baby is going to be ugly. It is going to be hideous and malformed, and people are not going to like it. And, you kind of roll with the punches and get back up and go do it again until you make a baby that isn't so ugly, maybe. I feel that's what a lot of parents do these days. So, I was going to make more jokes about that, but there's so many, I didn't want to do that. It's very important to just kind of keep going, put yourself out there. I heard a really good saying that a writer saying, he was a Russian guy, and now there's a tire just kicking. I can't remember his name. I just read a book by him. Bang it out first, tart it up later. And I absolutely loved that because it had our name in it, Tart Hard Cider. But the whole essence of it is get it out there, get the product out there, get the service out there, whatever you're doing, and then figure it out later. Just get it out there, because the best feedback you're going to be getting is from the market. If you don't have that market feedback, you could think for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks on a new product or a new service, and man, this is the greatest thing in the world. It's going to revolutionize everything. It's going to be the next Facebook, the next Google. And you put it on the market, and everybody hates it.
But on the other side, if you put it out there, weren't you afraid that, then it wasn't good. Then you go out into then everybody knows, hey, don't try that. It's
oh yeah,
it's not very good.
It's too tart.
Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely. You have to be ready for that. Like, if you do put it out there, people might not like it, and that's okay. That's when you turn around and you say, okay, that didn't work. Let's try something else. And we've done that with so many different ciders. We have probably 2 or 3 dozen ciders we've worked with, and we've got a dozen now, but they're the ones that have made the cut, and they're the ones that are good.
So how many times do you have to put a dress on that pig? That's the whole thing. Like, the thing is, a lot of times you try to spin it.
Yep.
That didn't work. So they come out 6 months later and try to spin it again.
So we actually quite a good story for that. So we came out with our gingerberry as our first kind of, gingerberry and Granny Scrudge. Granny Scrudge is just our hard cider, and gingerberry was cranberry and ginger. The Granny Scrudge was really well received, and the gingerberry, it was kind of a new flavor for the market, so they didn't really know what to do with it. And it took a while to get that selling, and we had a bunch of kegs left over. So we lagered them. We put them in a cold room and let them sit for 6 months. And then we put it back on the market as lagered gingerberry. And it sold like hotcakes. People loved it. People loved it. Lagered, yeah. Literally just wait in a cold room until it tastes different. And that's exactly what we did. And people loved it. Now we do that. We have gingerberry sitting in the back right now, just cooling off, getting ready to rock and roll in 6 months. Weirdest damn thing in the world, but it worked. And that was really just putting a new dress on the pig. That was about all I wanted to cover, and then I was going to go into Q&A with what people wanted to ask.
Give your experience with the business plan competition and what your expectations were, if you had any coming in. Then all of a sudden, fame, just like that, articles, and everybody wanted a piece of you guys.
It was okay. We had no expectations going. I'll be completely honest. We were just kind of like, hey, let's do this. This seems cool. It seems fun. We have an idea. This would be some really good seed money if we won. And we weren't even thinking about the publicity. We weren't thinking about anything that was really coming out of it. So we, sent our application in. I was heading out on a mission that day. I was still in the reserves at the time. So I sent the application and gave you a call to make sure you received it. And then I was out of there. I was gone. And came back 2 weeks later, and a week or 2 weeks later, and hey, we got into the competition. This will be cool. We made that first hurdle. And then it was kind of game on. Zoe and I, my business partner, are both really A-type personalities, so we were like, hey, this is a competition, this is going to be fun, we're going to stick it to everybody, and we're going to do the best we can. Our expectation was to win after that point. We came, after being accepted, we were like, we're going to win, and we're going to do whatever it takes to win. We're going to stay up late, we're going to get our product to be the best it can be and get it in people's hands and have them try it, and then we're going to walk away with that money and that in-kind services. And we did. Something I heard you talk about was doubt last time. And that's one thing I'd like to touch on. It just kind of popped into my head was that there are some people out there that never doubt themselves. They are amazing people. They are the people that get up every day and they just run at the wall that's presented with them and they leap right over it. That's impressive. I am not one of those people. I think, I worry, I'm up at 2 a.m. in the morning, not driving or doing cider, just waking up. We call those 2 a.m. thoughts, is the ones that wake you up in the middle of the night. But everybody I know that's a successful business person is one of those types of people that's always thinking, always worrying, always like, okay, what's next, what's next, what's next? Oh crap, I forgot about that, what am I gonna do? Okay, that'll be okay, I can pay that next week. Shuffling things, making it work. The trick is to not let that fear overcome you. I think that's a much more impressive feat than just not feeling it in the first place. I think we'd all like to be that knight in shining armor that can get anything done. But there's not a lot of those people in reality in the world. And the most important thing is to realize you're afraid or realize you're doubting yourself and get up and do it anyway. Go do it as best you can, and then where the dice fall, the dice fall. And that's the best advice I can give to people is you're going to feel afraid. You're going to doubt yourself. You're going to think that that pig that you put a dress on is going to squeal and run down the street and everyone's going to shout at it and laugh. But you do it anyway because you have a dream and you want to make some money and you want to be successful when it comes down to it.
Did you write a business plan?
For Tarte?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, did it go as smooth as you wanted?
Oh, no. Oh, no.
That
Oh,
was my
no.
whole point right there, right?
No, and you're going to get thrown curveballs left and right, man. What is it? Man plans and God laughs, or something like that is the old saying. It's so true. It's so true. You end up, you think you have this clear-cut, wonderful plan. What does the Army say about that? Plans and then battlefield, and then it's.
Yeah, it's like a plan never,
First casualty or something?
yeah, it's,
Plans good until the first casualty, something like that.
no, like, something like that,
Yeah.
Mike Tyson used to say, I think everybody's tough until they get punched in the face.
Every boxer's got a plan until he gets hit in the face.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, then you're not tough anymore.
Yeah, that's a good one. That is very true. You're going to catch black eyes. You're going to make people mad. You're going to disappoint. You're going to, you're going to tough through it, is what it comes down to. I'm being all pessimistic, but this is like the stuff you need people to talk you through is like, if there's one thing I can tell you is that you're going to go through some really difficult times. Really difficult times. You're not going to eat. You're not going to sleep. You're going to worry yourself to death, but you got to get through it. And that's what separates the chaff in the business world. Like I said, you have those guys in knight in shining armor that are just like, wow, look at them. I want to be like them. And that's cool to want to be like them, but most of us aren't. And that's reality I think a lot of us have to accept. And I had to accept that. I was like, I am a little nervous about this. I doubt if we're making a good product. I doubted that in the beginning. I was like, I want to make sure this is good before I send it out. Before we put that dress on the pig and send her out, I want to make sure that it's as good as I can make it. And then even if it's bad, even if people don't like it, cool, I tried my best. I did the best I could, and that was what came of it. Question?
Yeah. What's been a deal or a customer that has just kind of fallen through, and how did you find out why? Did they tell you, and how did you deal with that?
There's been a couple. We've been really lucky in the fact that we've had really good relationships with our business partners and our customers. The biggest one I've seen is that it's just the wrong crowd for the type of cider we bring. People are used to sweet cider. They're used to just a lot of sugar shoved in their faces in lieu of actual flavor. And you get the really old school crowd, and they're like, oh, hey, no, I just want a nice sweet cider. I don't want any flavor. I just want some sugar apple flavored water. That's all I want. Not even kidding. Not even kidding. Like, we'll sell somebody a keg. You know, this will be our best keg. It'll be like, this has the best rating. People love this. We'll blow through a half barrel in like 3 days at certain locations. And it won't move for a month at their place. And you go in there and you talk to them, you're like, hey, man, what's going on? And they tell you. Luckily, in this industry, most people will tell you straight to your face, hey, your product doesn't fit here. I need my money back. Go away. Okay, that's fair. I appreciate you being honest with me and upfront. You know, that's all I ask. But I would say to your question, always go ask. I mean, if something falls through, go talk to them. I mean, it's generally people like to talk about their experiences and talk about themselves. Thus, why I'm up here. They will tell you what went wrong or what didn't work. And hopefully you can iron it out for the future, or just realize, hey, I'm not going to go there anymore. I'm going to go to this type of place. Did that answer that?
Yeah.
Okay.
So what's been your biggest challenge since you started? I know you talk about fear and all that, but what do you think is your biggest challenge in terms of getting your business going?
Biggest challenge was definitely the growth factor would be my biggest concern. Like, we're out of cider right now. We sold out. We're done for the next 18 days till the cider's done fermenting. I thought I had it all planned out. You know, it was one of those worry things like, hey, are we going to have enough? Are we going to have enough? We hired a new sales rep. So we employ 6 people now, which is cool. 4 of which are veterans. Great, awesome. But the growth factor was unreal. We weren't prepared for that. So we are just now in our new facility with 5,000 gallons of cider Perkin versus 2,500. And that's already sold already. So as soon as that is done fermenting, I got to get that in kegs and then get that out the door and get more fermenting. And we've got a huge, I think it's like 16 feet tall, 8-foot wide tank coming in about a week to kind of suck up some more of that. And that's another 5,000 gallons. And that's probably going to be pre-sold by the time we get it filled up. It's unreal. Just planning for that growth I was not prepared for that at all.
With the growth, what do you have time to have a process? You got to have a process now.
That's
I mean,
where
you just can't-
that's where the no sleep and no food comes in.
Can't do it as a clubhouse anymore. I mean, you got to have a process, right?
You do. And luckily there was some thought put into this, and this business plan really helped. The business plan competition helped us do that. Was kind of thinking about how we're going to grow. We just didn't think we were going to grow this fast. So we made a base product, like one good product. That's Granny's Grudge. And we blend everything off of that. So all of our flavors come from Granny's Grudge. You know, the passion fruit, the citrus sunshine, the apple pie, the blackberry, everything comes off that. So I don't need to have 10 different tanks allocated to one flavor. And if, you know, that minimizes risk as well, because then you're not dealing with, okay, this one's good, this one's bad. I have 500 gallons of bad, but 500 gallons of good. So I can't sell this, but I can sell this.
Yeah, so basically, if you didn't get the product out there, you didn't have a foundation or the base.
Exactly.
So basically, after getting all that out there, now you have a base, and you can have like multiple products out of that one base.
Exactly. And we can do whatever we want with
That
it.
makes sense. Okay.
And it minimized our risk to almost nothing, because we could test things. We could send out a keg or two and be like, hey, our good friendly accounts that we know won't be too mad if it's something a little weird. And we give it to them, hey, this is weird, we'll give you a discount on it. You know, it'll be not a discount, but it'll be priced less than our other kegs. And just tell us what you think. And if it's good, we mass produce it. You know, if it's bad, we just shuttle that away and try again in a while.
So your business becomes very agile and nimble.
Exactly.
To the customers, and not like Henry Ford said, yeah, I can sell your car as long as it's black.
Yeah, I'll sell your car in a favorite color. Yeah.
Yeah, black.
Yeah.
So what's your thought process in terms of volume? Because obviously you'd like to hit that home run and make a lot of money on a sale.
Yeah.
But I know sometimes, especially in retail, you might get a customer who only wants a little bit.
Yep.
And is your thought process, yeah, you know what, I'm gonna not say no to anybody, knowing though that it takes just as much time to work on a small brew as it does on a large brew?
That's a great question. And it's one that our philosophy is we don't, unless it's just completely unacceptably small, like, hey, I want 1 case of cider down in Portland, we'll say yes. I mean, we love supporting local businesses, and we'll bring what people want to them. And if it's, we offer a set amount of products. So as long as it's within that probably dozen we offer right now, cool, we'll bring it to you, even if it's a case. Like that was what the phone call I took earlier was. Our sales gal was dropping off a couple cases at Tacoma Boys. And, they just wanted 2 cases. But we would absolutely not say no to them because that would grow into something bigger. They got a couple stores. They'll try us out. They'll be like, hey, this is good. We like this flavor. We don't like this flavor. Our customers like this, et cetera, et cetera. We don't say no, generally. And just because although it's maybe not be a net gain, it's money in the bank, it's cash flow, and it's cheap marketing because it gets out there. I figure that's the worst case scenario is we get cheap marketing. That's the biggest thing I look at. As long as I try to rationalize every dollar I lose. And I'm like, okay, that's just marketing. Oh, that was just that. I can write that off, whatever. Yeah, we don't say no. We generally don't say no.
Wow. So that might be an opportunity to separate yourself from every cider company out there because
Yeah.
if they want pomegranate, cider, apple, whatever, you can say, okay, I can make
And we've done that a couple times, one-offs.
for you.
Yep.
And be your signature brand.
Yep, and we've done that a couple times for folks, and it's the best way to do it. It's like, hey, this is your house cider. Here you go. We'll even name it after your place, which pretty much guarantees that nobody else is going to buy it because hey, this is the XYZ bar house blend. No one else is going to want that. We have to put it on the market, of course, and offer it to everybody, or at least people to a certain area because of alcohol laws are archaic. We're still in prohibition era with a lot of them, so there's a lot of weird little hoops we got to jump through. But what I'm trying to say here is, yeah, we'll get it to them. If they want some weird one-off, we'll generally do it for them, just because we want that business and we want that. Hey, these guys are good guys. They're going to take care of us. They're going to get us our cider, and it's a great product. And once that kind of gets out in the community, which is very small, by the way, breweries, bars, etc., it's like, hey, cool. These guys are good to work with. Sign them up. I won't tell you how quickly we have people calling us now. I have 4 emails waiting for me just from last night from people like, hey, how do we get your cider? I'm down here. And even a month ago, I had to walk into places and I was getting shooed out the door. And they were just like, no, go away. I don't know what the tipping point was. I don't know if you guys read The Tipping Point. Great book. I don't know what the tipping point was, but we hit it for this little aspect at least. And we're getting sticky. So that's another good one. The stickiness or the idea how to stick. That's a good one. Yeah.
So did you think the business plan competition kind of helped?
Absolutely.
I mean, it seems like you were just making cider out of the garage, and all of a sudden, hey, you want to buy it? Okay, get the hell out of here, kid.
Yep.
Now it's just like everybody wants you guys now. I mean, it was a lot of hard work too. I mean, you were out there
Absolutely
pimping that thing.
It's hands down. I'm just trying to sum this up in a good package. The business plan here's a good scenario. So most cideries, breweries, whatever, they don't can their product until they're well into 3, 4, 5 years old, and they have an established draft following. People know their product. They're like, hey, where do we get this in stores? The business plan competition gave us the backing and the credibility to go to a cannery and say, hey, here's what we've got. Here's our product. It's award-winning, which was great. That was a great thing to put on there. And they were like, yeah, we'll produce your stuff for you. So they canned our product, and by the time we were 6 months old, we had cans in Safeway, Hagen's, Walmart, Chevron's, stores. Weren't making much money on it because it was, outsourced. Cheap marketing. Making $1 and getting, future money in marketing. And I was like, cool, that rocks. Let's do that. And now we're getting set up, so probably by the end of next month we'll have in-house canning, which is really cool because that saves us about 80% on our costs. Not gonna lie, it's gonna be great. And we'll be making money on that, and I can control the product a little bit better, and it's going to be really fun. I'm looking forward to that.
Can you share your experience as how much time you spend on the front line versus the time you spend looking at numbers? And because we focus on
Yeah.
financials here constantly because, that's what keeps you alive, it's cash
Yeah,
flow, right?
absolutely. Got to feed the beast. Got to feed the beast. And that's, Zoe and I talk about that constantly. Financials are like, hey, how much we got in the bank? Okay, these are the bills coming in. We've already put these guys off a week. We got to pay them. We just got to wire them the money, whatever goes on. Try and keep people happy while, maintaining your bank account. That's topic of discussion every day for us is how much money we got in the bank, what's coming in, what's going out, how much money are we hemorrhaging right now, and can we stop the blood flow a little bit, which we've been able to, which is great. It's just kind of terrifying when you go from spending $1,000 to $10,000, then $100,000, and it's like, all right, I'm getting a little hyperventilated here. I'm gonna go for a run. I'll be back in about an hour.
So since Tom brought up money,
Yeah.
you guys won, I believe, what, 25 or 50 last year?
25 in cash and 25 in kind.
Okay, so let's just say 50,000.
Sure.
Which at the end of the day really isn't a whole lot
That was the scary part.
for a company, for a startup. What's your belief or thought process of trying to do this on your own as opposed to going to an investor, knowing that he's going to own part of what he's gonna own part of that pig.
Absolutely.
that he created.
He's got the ham. He's got the bacon. Damn it! I wanted those pieces. That was a really good discussion Zoe and I had. We talked about that for a good 2 months before we launched. We were like, okay, is it feasible to self-finance? I'm just a poor military veteran, I'm going to college, got that sweet GI Bill money, but it only goes so far. And Zoe was well established, but I was adamant about the fact that I want everything to be 50-50. I don't want to be
Between you and her,
between her and I, yeah. I was like,
a third party.
not a third party, yeah. I want this to be between you and I because I feel that we're committed to this. We want it to succeed, and the only way it's going to succeed is if we are 100% committed and equally committed. And after we met with you that day up at the coffee house, the Everest Coffee House, met with that gentleman. That was a big discussion we had between Zoe and I. Like, okay, hey, if we sign with investors, they're going to own us, and we're going to be working for them. And we didn't like that. That was just really hard for us to kind of wrap our brains around.
So knowing that's you, what would you though recommend to another veteran entrepreneur?
I would say get the money from your own sources. Beg, borrow, steal, whatever, from family, friends, whatever you got to do. Get that money and do it on your own because you're going to be, I know that if I will tell you right now that if I was, and I can only use myself as reference, unfortunately, I can't tell you what another person would think. I would tell you that if an investor owned 60 to 70% of my hide and 60 to 70% of my money was going to him or her, I would not be as motivated as I am right now. I'd just be like, this is a joke. I don't like this at all. I mean, I'm working 80, 90 hours a week, and they're profiting off this, which is fine. They gave me money. I'm completely fine with that idea. I want a little bit more out of that if I'm doing the work. And that goes back to Thomas's question of, how much time do I spend on the front lines? I'd say it's 50-50. Zoe and I spend just as much time talking as we do getting out there, keeping our finger on the pulse, and listening to what people want, where the market's going, what's happening. But I would definitely say if you can do it yourself, do it yourself.
So that's a good segue for my next question. I have partners in business and it didn't work out. What were you thinking when you partnered up with Zoe? And did you think this partnership or relationship was going to be sustainable? Partnerships are hard.
Yeah, we found that out. It's tough. It's almost like being married. It's really weird. You work together so closely and you know everything about the other person. And we didn't think it was going to be this hard. She's had a lot more business experience than me working with other people, but we are both adaptable, and we're like, hey, you're weak in this area, I'm weak in this area, but you're strong here and I'm strong here, so let's work. We focus on that more than the differences, and I think that's key, is trying to find, okay, how can we work together instead of against each other? Because if we try and work against each other, we're done. This whole thing's gone to hell. I mean, we've each got our roles to play. I'm production and like operations management, and Zoe is head of sales and distribution. So it's like we help each other out whenever we can, but we have different realms that we definitely take care of.
So how candid are you with each other?
No, blunt. Hey, Nick, you're pissing me off. You're being a dick. Sorry, I need to eat. My bad. I'll go eat. Hey, Zoe, why'd you do this? You forgot that. Oh, sorry. It won't happen again. Okay, cool.
You think because she's also a veteran, you're a veteran, you could talk like that to each other?
I think it helps.
Okay.
I think it helps because you're working with somebody wherever you are in the military, unless you're in, I guess, like a desk job. It's like, okay, don't do that. Hey, I'm mad at you. You're mad at me. Let's try and work this out instead of just letting it simmer below the surface and kind of boil over, which is horrible. I'm a firm believer in just airing the dirty laundry real quick as soon as you get it. It's like, hey, I have a problem. Need to fix this right now before it simmers. Because if it simmers, it's going to fester and it's going to get infected, and that's going to kill the relationship. Sir.
Could you speak to like how life as a whole changed, personal life changed as you guys went from, I guess through the process,
Yeah. It went from a hobby, a glorified hobby. Well, hey, making cider out of the garage, a couple bottles here, a couple bottles there. Hey, we got some tanks. We got some apple juice in there. I know it's been hard for me. Zoe's unattached at this point. She has no partner. I'm married, and I have a pretty full family life. I have parents that I have to take care of. That was why I was over in Eastern Washington yesterday. So my life has changed quite a bit more, and I know hers has as well. I'd say they've both drastically changed because she's ready to retire. She's ready to kind of take it easy, do whatever she wants to do, go biking, go swimming, on her own schedule. But now we're both kind of chained to this. It's like it went from that fun hobby of, oh, hey, we're making cider. Here's some cider, to crap, we have to go make some cider, and working those long hours. My wife, I've had to miss lunch with her and dinner with her more than once. I've come home past midnight, and thank God she's a saint, because otherwise I'd be out on I'd come home at 2 and find the locks changed and the dog barking at me. I'd be like, oh, this is great. This is great. But that growth curve I was talking about is deadly. I mean, if you let it get out of control, it'll own you. It'll take you, and instead of you dragging it along, it'll pull you with it until you're drug away to nothing. It's rough.
So it's a good segue too. I mean, the growth curve and everything. Now you're like a celebrity, if you will, in the South Sound. How do you keep your ego in check?
Really good family members and a really good business partner who, as soon as that thing gets even slightly inflated, pokes it and deflates it a little bit. And then it's like, okay, cool. I'm me again. Don't worry. I'm not going to be a jerk. I'm not going to be an egotistical any more than normal, at least. I was a loadmaster after all, so it's tough not to be.
So a lot of businesses now are focusing. There's a purpose with their business and their model and the way they look at businesses. And like Combat Flip Flops, a percentage of it goes back to educate Afghan girls.
Yep.
And does your business do that? Or your company do that?
We're definitely planning on it. So first, we're going to take care of our people. We're getting a full health plan set up hopefully by the end of this year. That's number one in our priority list. Well, number one is paying them. They get paid before us, and then getting a health plan taken care of for them so that they have less to worry about. Like, hey, you get sick, you get hurt, go to the doc. You're covered, 100% covered. Then we want to start putting money into. We have
Program?
The Vibe program is a great one. Yeah. That 25 grand that just went into our wallet is going to be like, hey man, here you go.
There's a loan.
There you go. Thanks. Appreciate it. Here's some interest for you. Woo. Yep. The Vibe program is awesome. Not just plugging because I'm here. Vibe program is awesome. We are looking at different charities, different philanthropy groups. Zoe and I have a soft spot for rescue dogs. We both have rescue dogs, so that's going to be definitely one of them. Some some veteran foundation, we haven't picked out which one yet, we're trying to vet them and kind of find out which one gives the most back to veterans. Wounded Warriors, the most well-known one, but a lot of that money doesn't go back to vets, and it's always tough to be like, okay, you guys do accomplish a lot of stuff, but I want to see more go back to my people. It's like, come on. But we're definitely, we call it, gosh, we came up with really catchy, ethical business. Ethical business practices. It's like that's hard baked into it. Like, hey, you have a community that's giving to you all these amazing things. You got to give back. You got to give back. Otherwise, it's just gonna kind of implode.
So what's the end game for Tart?
No idea.
Riding it right now.
Riding the wave, man. Riding the wave. We'll get to the beach when we get there. I mean, if we get bought out, yeah, I'm a businessman. You know, if I get bought out, cool. You know, give me enough money. You know, as long as I can guarantee my company is going to be well taken care of and in good hands, here you go. Keep going for the next 50 years until I keel over from heart failure or an aneurysm. That's another option. Hopefully not. That was meant to be funny, but ha 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 ha. Everybody seems to think I was serious. Oh gosh. Okay, I better go to the doctor. Better use that health plan. Or you know, anything I don't see. You know, it could implode tomorrow. We could have, you know, people suddenly don't like the product, and it's like, hey, we don't want to buy it anymore. Okay.
So what other vertical integration you're thinking of? I mean, diversifying your product. I mean,
Sure.
Cider is, you know, there's other.
Absolutely. So we have blocks of orchard already bought now. So you want to talk about futures and like, I don't know if anybody does investing, but futures markets are huge for produce. And I've got, luckily, family with availability to good cider apple growing ground in Eastern Washington. We've got a couple blocks, a couple acres already allocated to our yearly need for good, solid, classic cider apples. And that's the first step for vertical integration for us. First step is canning. Then the apples as soon as they're ready. Then we did our own distribution, but we outsourced that by picking up a distributor because they are the best at what they do, and there's no way we could even touch what they're doing right now without their help. And then probably end game is to just do as much of our own production for products in-house as we can. Kegs are huge. With steel, we got our order in for our last keg order a week before the new tariffs hit, and prices skyrocketed. But we only buy American kegs, so you know we're still going to buy them. It's just going to be a little bit more expensive. But if we could say make them here in Washington instead, and invest in a company that does keg products, I'd be down for that 100%. If we owned 40% of a keg company, we just got our money in product, I would be happy with that. But all the way from the top to the bottom, we want to be vertically integrated within 10 years and have that accomplished. Sir?
What kind of brand strategy or brand development have you guys started introducing?
So what do you?
Like social media campaigns talking about like what your brand is, because I mean it is unique.
Yeah.
You know, it's not your average cider, and I'm educating the consumer, talking about like what you guys do.
Yep.
If you guys have a brand for your.
So we definitely do. It's on the ground. It's boots on the ground because it is a unique product. You can tell people all day, oh, this is a unique product. This is the best thing since sliced bread. You know, this is great. This is wonderful. You're going to love this. But they hear that a lot. You know, they're going to go out there and they're going to see it on the shelf and be like, I heard about that. I'm going to go try something else. So we do a lot of events. We do a lot of bar education. We get in with the bartenders, the bar staff. We're like, hey, here's what we got to do. Here's what the product is all about. We're veteran owned. We're woman owned. We're Native American owned. We're et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We're based on all these good moral values. We take care of our employees. And then when they feel energized about that, that energizes the customer. You've got to energize your frontline people. And then we quickly realized that our frontline people were not us all the time. It was the bar staff. They could be enlisted to work for us in such a way that we all do better. And with that education, with that marketing strategy, that's what we did. And now we're kind of moving into social media. Now that we've got our tasting room open, we're kind of like, hey, come on down, check it out. You know, get the agritainment moment. Come in and see the cider bubbling away. Get a good whiff of the CO2. I almost died this morning. Did I tell you that? That was a fun one. It had nothing to do with driving over in the middle of the night, fueled by a couple glugs of coffee. I opened the cidery up, and our fans hadn't turned on, and it produced a lot of CO2. Let me tell you, and it'd been closed up for about 3 days, and there's no air exit out of this building. So I opened it up, and oh, it smells really good in here. It smells like fermenting cider. Oh, really good, yeah. Walking in, going to the back, kind of messing around for about 5-10 minutes. I start feeling a little woozy. And I'm like, oh, what, man, am I just tired? Is that coffee wearing off? I should drink more coffee. I go drink more coffee. Okay, I feel better. Walking around doing some more stuff. Oh, I'm getting a little more woozy. What's going on here? And then I realized that I was blacking out. My vision was starting to go black. I was not going to make it. I was like, oh, this is great. I'm going to pass out. And even then I was slightly entertained by it. I was like, oh, this is going to be great, man. And I go, yeah, I'm going to sleep now. God dang, that coffee didn't work. So I go up to the door, and we have this big, huge sliding garage door on the front of our building. It's 15.5 feet tall, like 10 feet wide. So I don't know why I didn't just walk out the normal door, but I didn't. And I just started reeling up that door thinking, oh, I'll get the CO2 out. It's going to be great. And by this point, I was looking through like little pinpricks of light. I don't know if anybody's like a 400 or a marathon runner. It was that same feeling when you come into the last stretch and you're just pulling everything out. You're just running. You just get that tunnel vision down to the goal line, down to the ribbon. And, I opened it up, and then for about 5 minutes, I don't remember much after that, but I got out in the fresh air, and I was like, I was sitting in my car, so I hope I wasn't trying to drive anywhere, but I had my keys in my hand, and then I kind of came to, and I was like, oh, hey, I almost died. And then I called my wife and my dad and said, hey, I almost died. That was really fun. Let's not do that again.
Lesson learned, open the garage door
Before you go wandering around in the cidery. Yeah.
So do you think it's just your personality or in Zoe's? 'Cause it seems like a lot of companies today, especially with young entrepreneurs, the first thing they'll do once they have their business plan is they'll build a website. And then they'll hit, to caveat what he was saying, they'll build that social media campaign in terms of like Black Rifle. You see them all over.
Yep.
All over the internet. With you, you seem more like a face-to-face, word-of-mouth.
Oh, yeah.
I want to network with people in the community. So, and again, obviously for different products, it might be different.
Yep.
But for you, do you think it's just more of your personality, that's just the way you are? Or do you think that it makes more sense to do the networking first and then the social media? Or social media first, and then once your brand's out there, then go do the handshake and everything?
I can't stress enough that on the ground business owner frontage was what made our brand. Because it's probably industry specific, because I don't know many other industries. I know a couple. I ran a nonprofit, and I'm also a business partner in a pest control company. And the less you're seen with pest control, the better. No one wants to see you. No one wants to know you're there. And I don't want them to know I'm there either, because then they're like, oh, pesticides. And I'm like, no, it's safe. Don't worry. We only use the good stuff. It'll only kill the bugs, I promise. But with cider, they want to see you. We'll have good established accounts, like people that we've sold to for a year. And if you miss going in there, they won't order that week. They just won't. They won't call you. They won't text you. They won't do anything. Consistency. And that's why we hired our sales reps, because Zoe and I quickly realized we can't do this all. And it's our personalities. I like to talk. I'm a jabberjaw. So I go into a place, I'll start talking somebody up, and then we'll be best friends by 5 minutes later. And we're going to go have beers that night. And I would say it's dependent upon the industry. For us, it's definitely on the ground. For like Facebook type stuff or Google type stuff, it's probably internet marketing and Black Rifle. I don't know the coffee business at all, so I couldn't comment on that. But it's working for them, whatever they're doing. It's working really well, and they have damn good coffee. I think that's the main thing, is they have damn good coffee. Sir.
What do you guys teach at Vibe Talk? Do you focus on that marketing piece in terms of like a lot of these young kids?
Most of it, what we teach first before we get into the branding, we teach them what your purpose and what your why is.
Yep.
And who's your customer. Because if you don't have that, the web page is not going to do you any good or anything like that. You've got to figure out who's your niche is, who you're selling it to, figure out the cash flow. And once that happens, we start evolving from there. So
That's absolutely. get that base plate, because you don't know who you're selling to. Good luck. Sir, you had a question.
Yeah, so how long had you been making cider before you started the business, and why did you choose cider?
So I've been making cider on and off since I was 14.
Good answer.
Yeah.
Legally.
Yeah.
Other people.
I never drank it. I just made it.
Just apple cider.
Once the statute of limitations up, 7 years. I got a couple more there. I'm almost there. Another 2 years. Can we edit that out later? I've been making cider for a long time. Officially, been making cider for a long time. Zoe's been making cider for a long time. It's something that I like. I grew up in apple country. My family owns apples, cherries, orchards. If you can throw some sugar and some yeast in something and ferment it and make alcohol, it's like, I'm interested in that. I'm like, that's cool.
And this is over in Wenatchee, Kashmir.
North of there, Okanagan.
Okanagan.
Yep. Middle of nowhere, right by the Canadian border. I've been making it for a while. Why cider? So Zoe was actually the impetus behind that. She was the one that saw the market going that way. So here, this is a fun one. I can actually use the whiteboard. So the craft wine industry, so circa 1970, this was wine. So it started, you had like your house wines, everybody had like their favorite wine. You had the red, the white, the generics. There wasn't really anything too unique or too craft. It was the big names. So the craft boom started in like 1980 is when everything kind of took off for wine. So you had this stagnant deadline of like, okay, there's no new wineries being opened, everything's kind of dead, and then all of a sudden it went like just skyrocketing up until about the probably mid 90s. So let's say 95. So let's say 95 here. So that was the peak, was 95. And then everything started to taper off. It started to just go back down. And now we're somewhere kind of in this happy little baseline here. There's as many wineries opening as there are closing. And they're making really good craft products that you can get locally. Thomas, are those dry erase?
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
That's just for cider.
This is just for wine. So here's where beer took off. So this is beer. So beer started, so you had, Anheuser-Busch, you had Miller, you had Coors, you had those big brands pre-1980. This is where kind of beer took off. So they were just a little bit past 1980. They were like 1985. And they're going over here right now. And they're kind of experiencing a little bit of a renaissance. So they're heading back up. So that's craft beer is the blue line. And then cider has been absolutely stagnant for the last 300 years. There's been 4 or 5 cider companies that have made it through. And that's agriculturally driven, quite honestly, because cider used to be the go-to beverage. The founding fathers drank cider before beer. That was what English people drank, was cider. Beer didn't come over until the Irish and the Germans showed up. So they had all these wonderful cider apples that were just only good for making cider. That's what everybody used to make their cider, and that's what they drank. Really bad winter came, killed off all of the cider apples. Everything died over on the East Coast. There was nothing on the West Coast as a production as of yet. And so everyone's like, okay, we have to find a new drink. That was when the big influx of German and Irish came into the country. So they are just quaffing beer like it's going out of style. And then all the cider makers were like, hey, we got to get back into the game. They immediately planted their orchards back to get apples in production. However, in that time, apples took about 20 years to get going, to actually produce a harvestable crop. And now it's like 2 years, if that. Goes to that, and then Prohibition hits. So you have all of these cider apples that are good for absolutely nothing besides making cider, and you can't make cider anymore. So it got killed off effectively until Angry Orchard came onto the scene and popularized cider again. So, we always cuss Angry Orchard in the cider industry saying, oh, hey, don't drink Angry Orchard, drink craft, drink local. We have to allocate a certain amount of thanks to them because they remade the market for us. They made the market available to everybody. Hey, cider's good. Now we just got to change their taste buds from the sugary to the flavorful.
So who's the biggest consumer, females or males with ciders?
50-50, man. Anymore, it's 50-50. I've made converts of old whiskey drinking ranchers. And my family, I'm like, here, drink this. I'm like, oh, cider. I don't want to drink this. This is a girl's drink. I drink whiskey and beer. And I'm like, okay, just try it. And they finish a can. That's pretty good. I got to have another can. Okay, here you go. Here's another can. All right, where do I get a case of this? Where do I buy this at? And then, I leave a case. And it's not just because, they wouldn't drink it just because I'm family and just because it's, given to them at a steep discount. They drink it because it's good. And I've made converts of a lot of people like that. Hardcore beer drinkers come over and try us and they're like, oh, hey, this isn't sweet. This is really flavorful. I like this. I'll drink this. Oh, hey, it's gluten-free. It's vegan. It's non-GMO. What? Right on. So with all these health conscious movements now, it's really nice. So, but here we are in cider. So get back to that last little graph because my brain won't let me not finish it. So we're like right here, right? I know I'm not to scale. No math majors hurt me here. So we're like right there. And Zoe and I jumped in right here. So hopefully this peak continues a little bit longer, but we'll see what happens. But right now we're riding the wave up and it's great. Question, sir?
What kind of waste do you guys have, and what have you guys thought of using that for?
So we have very little waste. Aside from, so we're very different from beer. Beer has a lot of byproducts. We're very, very different from beer. We don't have grain, we don't have boiled stuff, we don't have malt, all this stuff, we don't use it. We use apple juice. And we get our apple juice pressed because we're at the point now where we can't do it ourselves. So we, 5,000 gallons of juice, we have it rolling in a tanker. It's 3 hours old, which is awesome. It's as fresh as you can get. We never use concentrate. The only waste we have is a substance called lees, which is a waste product derived from yeast and their consumption of glucose and any other sucrose type molecules in the beverage. It's a mixture of dead yeast, apple particulate, and other trace elements that are in the cider that fall out of suspension. And that is honestly some of the best fertilizer you're ever going to get. It's super rich in vitamins, it's slightly acidic, so you can use it on berry bushes for raspberries, blueberries, blackberries, whatever. Goes crazy. They'll have a little bit of an acidic soil.
Can you package that and sell it?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So it's like we're trying to do that with Oli Kraut. Have you heard what they're doing? They're taking their brine and labeling it as a health beverage and full of electrolytes. All it is salt and some pickle juice. Dead serious. And they're making a killing on it. They are making an absolute killing on it. Yep.
Oh my god.
They're making a killing on it. But the lees is good. I mean, it's basically just like yeast extract. So if you ever have not marmalade, what's the Australian?
Marmite. Vegemite.
Vegemite. So the yeast, yeah.
Yes.
It's basically yeast spread with apple flavored yeast spread. Yeah, dead serious. And it's got this really nice golden red, golden yellow, golden red color. It's nice. It's really nice. And
Can I come and get the yeast and package it and sell it?
sure, absolutely. If you got a market for it, go for it.
I'm down.
New business idea. Don't let the pig get away from you. No, she's gonna get away. But yeah, it's. I'm trying to think. Is there one more question I had circling back to social media? We're on the ground, boots on the ground. Very big, important for our industry. Probably the most important thing is being out there talking to people and getting good people in front of those customers. Because if you have a dry, droll, stiff, hey, you want to buy some cider? It's not gonna fly, man. What the heck? We had one guy come in and interview, and he was just stiff as a board, and I was like, relax, it's okay, deep breath, it's okay. And he just was not even military. You'd expect that from somebody in the military, but no, this guy was a civilian, just no personality. And I was like, you want to work production? You want to work in the back of the house? Because I don't see sales, man.
Yeah.
Taste tester.
Maybe he needed some of the cider to loosen up.
Maybe send him out on the road with a road beer, road cider. Be like, hey man, just don't get caught.
Yeah.
We actually did end up hiring him. He's a great guy. He's one of our delivery drivers now. But he's a great guy, sir.
So I can't remember. I don't know if you answered this question, but so going back, you said that you work sometimes 80 hours a week. So what is kind of your philosophy on life? Work, family. How do you kind of manage those things?
That's a question I often ask myself. and it was even kind of coming into play at the Vibe. Remember, that was the whole, like, my wife and I got in a huge fight before the Vibe business plan competition, and it was, you know, you're working too long, you're doing this, you're killing yourself, you're grouchy, you're not eating, all valid points and things that I needed to work on. So I simply took away from my sleep is what I did. I was like, okay, I can get away with 4 or 5 hours a night. And I spend the rest of that time I would usually be sleeping with my wife or my family. Probably not healthy in the long run, but until things get going, it was the best thing. But always keep that work-life balance, because if your home life is bad and you're trying to work, it's not good. It's not good. It just kind of screws with everything. You're always going to be thinking about that instead of the important stuff. Well, not the important stuff, more important than home life, but business stuff. It's like, where's the money coming from? Where we got money going?
Is that sustainable?
For me, it is. I don't need a lot of sleep. But for other people, I don't know. It's all personal like physiology and background. Yeah.
So entrepreneurship is a full contact sport.
Absolutely. You're going to get bruised and battered, man. You come away with some real black eyes and split lips. And it goes back to that point of just keep, you know, everyone's tough until they get punched in the face. Yeah, you find out what you're made of in this game. You really find out if you're cut out for this. Another question.
Yeah. I kind of like to ask this question, like all the people I meet, is like, what are some of your memorable moments, or like, what are the biggest, like some of the biggest screw-ups or mistakes you have done, and like, what did you learn from them?
You ever heard of F Up Week? It's a conference they put on down in Fresno every year. They invite in huge tech entrepreneurs. They invite in people who are like just mega billionaires, made on their own, the sweat of their own brow type people, and they say, what are your biggest F-ups? And you know, you hear some really amazing stories. So my biggest screw up was I ordered too much cider once. So it's really funny. We went from one extreme to the other. I have too much, now I don't have enough. And we were paying storage fees on this, and I thought it was the worst thing in the world, paying $500 a month to these guys to store our pallets. I was like, this is the worst thing in the world. I've killed the business with $500 a month. And I was just sure I was the one that put us in the ground, nailed up the coffin myself. And I was sure of that for 4 months. And it was one of the worst feelings in the world until I realized, you know, it's only $500 a month. It's not the end of the world. But I had 2,000 cans I didn't need at the moment. And I was like, what am I going to do with these? Ended up selling them, which was great. But at the time, for those 3 or 4 months, it was just the end of the world in my mind. But that was my biggest screw up, I would say.
And what was that called again?
F Up Week, something like that. Yeah, it's not as polite as that. But it's fun. You get to see, it's like TED Talk on steroids, and you know, it's good. One last round of questions, anybody? Good? Sweet. Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate it. Thank you guys for your time.